Right. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Kane. Thanks for having me here. Awesome. So looks like we got what, about an hour? Is that what we're rocking here? All
Yep.
right. So I'm gonna try to hit you hard and fast, and hopefully leave time at the end to be able to answer questions because I want to make sure that everybody leaves here feeling helped. Because oh man, could we use some help right now? So yeah, again, if you don't know who I am, I'm John Bracey, aka Magister Bracey. You can find me everywhere. I'm all over the place, and I've been teaching Latin for about 10 years or so in Massachusetts. And I guess that's the most important stuff. I do some other things. I teach in Massachusetts right now. I write stuff sometimes. I present at stuff sometimes. I do some things. I do some things. Anyhow, it's not really about me, is it? No, because I think we're all in this together. We're all in this kind of, I know, right? Until when admin says that, we're all in this together. By that, I mean you. You are in this. I'm not, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Anyhow, yeah. So we all been there. Fantastic. All right. I'm going to share my screen with you and see if this works. Can you all see my screen okay? Oh, this is, I mean, again, in my district, we have to use Google Meet. And every time I press a button in Google Meet, I am always I'm always really thrilled and shocked when it works. Like something like I press the button and the thing is supposed to do that happens. Yeah, so hey Zoom. Okay, good. Let's just get it. So all right. Welcome to the Remote Teacher Survival Guide. How to go the distance while teaching from a distance. With me, John Bracey. And that's all my stuff there. Yeah, yeah. Awesome. So even though this is geared towards remote teaching, I know that a lot of us in this room are remote teaching simultaneously while teaching in person in a variety of other Frankenstein kind of, I don't know, affronts to nature that are happening right now in the classroom. But yeah, so if there is a remote component to what you're doing, this should help you. And without further ado, let's get into the guide. All right. Now, once again, I'm going to go back a slide. This is a survival guide. I want to stress the word survival. Okay. So if you've ever been to one of my presentations before, in general, the way that I like to do things is kind of the way I like to teach language in general. I always start by establishing meaning, and I always start by making sure that everyone understands what we're talking about before we get into it. So I like to start with an overview and the kind of things you're going to learn throughout this. So, okay, these are the basic principles of remote teaching as I have come up with. They are in no particular order, so do not think that they're in order of importance or anything like that. They are kind of like our brains are right now. They're kind of just in whatever order they happen to have fallen right now. So, all right, automate, survive, not thrive, beg, borrow, steal, no judgment, no shame, use and reuse, clarity over beauty, and of course, don't get fired. These are the fundamentals for survival. And I will stress that over and over and over again that given the circumstances we are in right now, survival is our goal right now. This is, yeah, yeah, what's being asked of a lot of us, and I have it pretty decent right now. What's being asked of a lot of us are things that are so beyond what really anybody should be asked to do. And so the way that we respond to this, I think, has to be commensurate with that. We're being asked to do something that is utterly impossible. And what we can do right now is survive and give the best experience to our kids that we can without destroying ourselves in the process. Now, I'm a classroom teacher too. I'm in there with you all the time. So all of this is from the inside, the day-to-day that you have to do. This, I'm not going to show you a bunch of things that are gonna get you really fired up for tomorrow. And you're gonna come in the first 10 minutes, you're gonna be fired up, and then 10 minutes in, you're like, I'm tired. I'm kind of run down. And then it's just all gone for good. This is all stuff that's designed to make it so that when you hit those, like, just like the doldrums of this, when you really get down, when you really, like, your energy's low, these are things that you're going to be able to fall back on. Sustainability is key here. So let's get right into the guide. Number one on our list is automate. Automate. Only assign what can be automatically graded. Like, for example, Google Forms, Google Classroom. You can assign things in Google Classroom. Kits, anything of the sort that you can create that has a classroom creating function in it. Ed puzzles, etc. Do your best to only assign what can be automatically graded. I don't know about you all. I don't know. Some of you can pull this off. I can't. I got 3 kids. I'm teaching from home. My kids are fully remote or too young to go to school. What am I supposed to grade stuff? What am I going to sit down and be like, I spent like however many hours like staring at a computer screen. Now I'm going to like say, hey kids, all right, daddy's going back downstairs. I got to now like stare at like 200 assignments that I got to like read through and provide feedback. No, no, I can't pull that off. And you should not be expected to do either. And why do it? If you have the opportunity to use any of these things, any tool that automatically grades, use it. If what you want to assess is difficult to assess automatically, I would change the way that you assess so that it can be automated. And I will show you some ways to do that. But that's where we're at. Like, we really have to start cutting off some of the stuff that we are used to doing because we don't have the time, the bandwidth, the energy to do that stuff right now. And that's fine. Automate everything. If you're not sure if it can be automated, check to see if it can be automated. Do not spend one extra second grading than you have to. And if you can get rid of it entirely, get rid of it. That's number one, automate. The next big principle that I have already been hammering ad nauseum: survive, not thrive. Survive, not thrive. This is not the time to go on Twitter or Instagram and see the unbelievable things that people are doing that'll blow your mind. Where you're like, oh man, I should have spent like 8 hours to create one Pear Deck slide. Oh, now I feel guilty. That's not the time right now. This is not where we move forward. This is where we tread water. We are not training for Olympic butterfly strokes. We are in the middle of open water in the ocean, and we're going like this, just trying to keep our heads above water. That's where we're at. Survive, not thrive. This is a tool that will help you, and you'll all be getting a copy of this that you'll be able to edit and mess with. Survive, not thrive. This is a way that I think of laying out what I have to do on a given day. What do I need to make it through classes tomorrow? This is a list. And a little reminder, do this stuff. These are the things that I need to do to make it through class tomorrow. So what could be on that list? That could be, all right, we are reading a story. Make sure I have a copy of the story. Make sure I have a way to share it with kids. If they are, I don't know, if they're doing a kit of some kind, make sure that I've made the kit. If we are talking about a picture, make sure I found the picture. Whatever it is that you need, absolutely need to make your classes go, that right there, that is what you do. The other category is what would be cool if I did it in my classes tomorrow. Now, a lot of us get stuck here because we take a lot of pride in what we do. This is what we do. This is who we are. This is who I am, and it's hard. Like it is hard to it is hard to take so much pride in something and to care so much about something, and to let some of this stuff go right now because this is our thing, and so it's hard. But what helps me is is putting it on paper or writing, making it in a list form so it gets it out of my head. Is making a list of the things that would be cool to do in my classes tomorrow. Because you do that thing and your instincts kick in. You're like, oh, but I want to make this better. Oh, wouldn't it be better if I did this? Oh, it'd be so cool if I did that. Oh my goodness, I'm going to make my background this. Because that's our creative process. That's who we are. I make a list of those things now. And I mostly don't do it. I mostly do none of it. They are cool ideas that I would love to do. And maybe I'll revisit them later on. I'll make a list of things I'm going to do when times have changed. But right now, I'm not doing it. I'm writing it down so the idea gets out of my head. I'll say, okay, once I do the stuff I need to do, then I can move on to that. And I normally don't. I mean, like a couple times a week, maybe maybe once a week, I'll do something that's like, okay, I'm gonna do something really cool for this because I need it because it makes me feel good. But yeah, in general, that's not where we're at. Focus on what we need to do. Need, absolutely need, not what would be cool right now. And again, it hurts to say these things out loud. But again, the goal is to survive this process. Remote teaching is different. Okay. The next big step, next big principle here, beg, borrow, and steal. Beg, borrow, and steal. Use other people's stuff before making anything. And I do mean anything. Ask yourself, did I try social media? Did I go onto a Facebook group and hit that little search button there and see like, oh, did someone else make this already? Is someone else doing something like this? Did I check Twitter? Sometimes. I mean, in general, I don't check Twitter for this kind of stuff because it usually just is like stuff that'll make me feel bad. Be like, oh yeah, I should have like painted my entire face blue and then did like a whole thing, or like I should have made a cake in the shape of like just something ridiculous like that. That usually just gets into my head. But normally, I just go on Facebook. I know Facebook can be toxic, but I mean, like go on Facebook, join a Facebook group of any kind. That I mean, for Latin teachers, hop onto any Latin teacher group and see if someone's already done it. And if they haven't, ask. Be like, hey, has anyone done this? And people are very, very generous, and they'll share everything they've got with you, myself included. Start there. Ask. Did I check teacher websites or blogs? Did I go to my favorite websites with the teachers that I follow? Did I see if they have come up with something cool? Did I ask a friend or a colleague? I'm on a regular group chat with a couple of other Latin teacher friends of mine, and we just chat about whatever all the time. And probably as soon as I get off of this, I'm going to text them and be like, "All right, AP Latin makes me want to like, what do you do in AP Latin to make it more bearable?" Like I'm gonna text and be like, "Okay, what are you doing? I know you have to teach it too. What are you doing with it?" Ask a friend or a colleague. And also on the list is, did I check Teachers Pay Teachers? Now, of course, there are things that are free on Teachers Pay Teachers, and there are things that cost money on Teachers Pay Teachers. But as a moment of last resort, or first, if you need to break class in case of emergency, look there. Again, I am imploring you, I am begging you, use other people's stuff. Don't waste time, your energy, your life. Don't waste it on trying to just remake stuff that someone already made. And honestly, if someone made something similar ish, maybe abandon ship and jump to that one because it's already made. Like, seriously. I know all this stuff hurts me to say out loud. But again, this is survival mode. This is not time to get awesome. Next big category here, no judgment, no shame. No judgment, no shame. Of course, the cakes represent what we all would love to be doing right now. Oh, look at that lovely, beautiful cake. That I'll tell you, I'm not making that cake. I don't think I've made that cake yet this year. I've certainly made the second one. I've certainly made that one a bunch of times. I'm sure we all have. I'm sure we've all made that cake. And you know what? You nailed it. You nailed it. That is a cake, technically. That is good enough for right now. And I honestly do mean no judgment and no shame. I mean, if you know me and what I do, you know that I teach with a comprehensible input based approach. I advocate for it during these circumstances where either we're teaching from long distance. I mean, we've been through who knows what. I mean, in the midst of a pandemic, I mean, the things that people have gone through, what we've seen, what we're being put through, all this stuff. I mean, do you think I'm gonna hop on Twitter and troll you for being like, well, I don't think you should be using a grammar worksheet right now. I don't care. Use your grammar worksheet. Did you make one in like the 70s? Use that one. Dust that thing off, scan that thing in your computer and use it. I mean, use anything. No one is judging you. If people were judging me right now, I would be ashamed of what I'm doing. No one is judging you. All that matters right now is our survival, right? Like the building's on fire. Now's not the time to rearrange your sock drawer. That's where we're at right now. So no judgment, no shame. And this means to yourself too, which is the hardest part, right? Because we can all avoid like, obnoxious people like me. But I mean, I am me and I have to avoid my obnoxious self. And we all have to deal with that, right? Because we're all telling ourselves, oh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. This was the year that I was really going to embrace this particular technique. I just got this new book. There's all this cool stuff that I want to do. And I feel like the worst teacher in the world because I'm not doing it. Like, I feel like I'm not giving the kids the experience I know I can. But guess what? I mean, we probably all need to hear this, and it helps to have someone else say it because, I mean, I have to say it to myself repeatedly. Look, you have not been set up for success at all. Some of you, I know, are teaching the kids who are right there, desperately trying to like protect your own health and safety, as well as the health and safety of those kids who have been put into a confined space with a deadly, highly contagious virus. And while you're doing that, also teach remotely at the same exact time and submit 800,000 lesson plans and videotape yourself sleeping so that they can know that you're not using school resources to sleep. Send medical records, like all the administrative garbage that they want people to do in addition to all this stuff. There's no way we're making that first cake there right now. There's no way. And we shouldn't even be trying to make that cake right now. We're making a cake. That's what we're making right now. So it is absolutely vital that we do not judge each other, do not judge ourselves. No shame. No shame right now. Next big idea, use and reuse. Pick non-specific activities that can be used and reused with all classes, in all classes with no adjustments, none whatsoever. This is what has been saving me this year. This is what's made my days doable. Because I mean, I'm sure I probably have it easy. Like I teach what, 5 classes? I have 5 classes, 3 preps, which is like for a Latin teacher, oh, 3 preps, not bad. Whereas like, I know I've talked to you all the time, I have like 5. And if you're in a right to work state, you have like 30. It's like I have 30 preps. I teach 30 classes a day. And I also have to defang cobras because the director of the school is like, hey, we're defanging cobras now. You do that now. Like it's the things that I've heard that people have to do. Oh my goodness. So I've got it pretty easy. 3 class, like 3 different preps, right? I mean, for us, for like a math teacher, it's like, what? 2 preps? What's the meaning of this? I demand to speak to the manager. But no, for us in general, yeah, we got a lot of preps. And there's no way we're gonna be able to make our way through all of this stuff. There's no way we're gonna be able to plan something magical for each and every class in these circumstances, particularly if we're teaching remotely. We do not have the ability to do that like we normally would. The logistics of it are different. So I rely heavily, and I suggest you do the same, on these kinds of activities. Now, in here, there's a couple of links. So one of them um, is Martina Bex's reading choice board. And you'll be able, I have no idea what happens if I click on it. I don't know if my screen blows up, but all that all that happens. I'll show that to you later. But all it is, you've seen them before, you've heard of them, and you'll get a link to this one as well. It's just a choice board, right? So if you're working with stories, even if you're working with a textbook that has stories, if you're working with anything that is written, hell, even listen to anything, use a choice board. In fact, use this choice board. Martina Bex came up with this one for all languages in general. And I have just not really adjusted anything. And I'm using it for Latin. All it is a series of different activities that you can use for anything you might be reading. So it might be make some true or false questions about this story, translate the story into English if you like, rewrite the story from your own perspective. There's a create a storyboard of it. There's a million different things that you can do. None of them are specific to any particular story or to any particular level. So in any one of my remote classes, now I'm in a circumstance where I have to teach, we have 80-minute classes. 80-minute remote classes are pretty brutal. But I know we're all in a, but it's, yeah, we're all in a variety of situations. I mean, again, I think I have it pretty lucky. But the one good thing that I have the advantage of is that we are encouraged strongly to not spend all 80 minutes on Google Meet or Zoom or whatever it is that you use. We're encouraged to not spend all 80 minutes of that because that's, I mean, that's just torturous. So we are encouraged to have them do things away from camera. And so one thing that I do in all of my classes would be like, okay, we're reading this. Okay, here's 35, 40 minutes. Pick one or two things from the choice board to demonstrate your understanding of the thing that you read. I can also do this with free voluntary reading. Say, read something, pick anything you want to read from whatever list that I've given them of like of online resources, and yeah, complete one or two of the activities for this. And that's it. It's easy, it's repeatable, and if you're asynchronous, you could literally just do this for the whole year if you needed to. Like last year, at the end of last year, when we were asynchronous, I was able to get at least 3 days out of the week of just that. But I mean, again, this will depend on your circumstances. But having these go-tos is a lifesaver because I mean, the physical fatigue, which I didn't realize was such a big thing, of just being in front of a screen. Like teaching remotely, I mean, you know this as well as I do. Teaching remotely is not like teaching in person. Like 20 minutes of remote teaching is like the equivalent of like an hour of in-person teaching. Like it, even if you're enjoying yourself, it burns you out. Like your brain starts to short down. You get tired. What do they call it? Zoom fatigue. Like I didn't know. I was like, oh, that can't be real. I don't know why I thought that. But then, when I come upstairs after like teaching and like I sit down at like the dinner table with my kids, I'm just like, Daddy, how was your day? Literally, that's like what I'm like at the end of the day. It's like this tech, like it just mushes your brain, right? So these kind of things are what I fall back on heavily to prevent that kind of that fatigue of constantly having to be on and creating. Yeah. And also it gives me an excuse to look away from the screen. It gives the kids an excuse to get away from their screens too. Because I mean, I'll just shoot straight with it. A lot of the plans, if not all of the plans that you're probably working with, weren't invented because they're like, hey, this would be a good way to learn stuff. This would benefit the kids. This would be great for teachers. No, like the plans for the most part are, there's like two angry parents who happen to know like the mayor and they're really heated and they want the whole school to open up so that their kid can take like 4 or 5 AP classes, and they want to look like this, or else they're going to, have my head. And so like superintendents are terrified and admin are terrified. And so you have these plans that are really not designed for what it is that we do at all. And so most of the kids are in the same boat as we are. Like, we're not trying to sit in front of like a Zoom or a Google Meet for like 80 straight minutes. Like, we're not trying to like from like 7 in the morning to like 3 in the afternoon. No one's trying to do that. It's not good for them. It's not good for us. It burns them out too, and it hurts them. It's not good for them. So anything that can give them the excuse to get off of that screen in any way, shape, or form. One thing that, I mean, depending on what resources they have, and it will depend on the area and the district and such, um, assuming they have school provided technology of some kind, if it's a Chromebook, whatever have you, ideally it has a camera on it. But again, this will depend on the different circumstances of your district. But what I will have them do is when they're doing something from the reading choice board, they don't have to do it on a screen. It doesn't have to be in like, on a Google slide or in like an online application of some kind. They can do it on paper if they want to. All I have to do is take a picture of it. As long as I can, if you can take a picture of something on a Chromebook or a phone or anything, you can upload it to any of these places. You can upload it to Classroom. So it's another way to get them off the screen, and honestly, to get me off the screen too, because I'm no good to them either if my brain is mush. So huge, 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 huge for sustainability. Other thing that I work in reuse is, yeah, there's a link here that I'll also share with you. So weekly assignments, like essentially having one assignment is what has also saved my life. Now, later on, I'll show you this in more detail. We have Lance Piantagini and John Piazza. I don't know if you know them, but if you go to magisterp.com, you go there, you'll find this link, and it's pretty much it's a blog post that came out of an email thread that I was on with John Piazza and Lance Piantagini, and they were coming up with a way to essentially have one assignment for the entire year, like essentially one weekly assignment. And what they came up with was essentially having something like either a Google Doc or a Google form, like one Google form, say for an entire week, an entire quarter, however it is that you want to do it. And all it is like a couple of questions. What did you read? What did you learn? What did you listen to? What did you do? And then a place to, because you can do this in Google Forms, you can just create like a place to submit any sort of file. And they give you a ridiculous amount of space too. I think I have like a gigabyte worth of like stuff, and it doesn't come anywhere near that. But you could have them submit anything that they did. So whatever they did in the choice board, you have them submit to this one Google form. So essentially, you just have one single link that you click on that has like everything that your students have done. And if admin wants to see it, you say, hey, I have an entire virtual portfolio for the year of what this kid has done. So again, it saves you so much of this logistical time of going to a bunch of different places to find things. And it saves the kids a lot of headache too. But again, the key thing here is use and reuse. Use as many non-specific activities as you can, because those are the ones that you can go from like, teaching fifth grade all the way through to AP and not have to change a thing. Vital, because there's no way you can create all this new stuff every single day, especially given the circumstances. Right? Good. Now the next enormously important thing that I think is such a difference maker in the way that I think about this now is actually, it was an educator who was on the autism spectrum, who really illuminated this for me, the importance of the concept of clarity over beauty, especially if you're teaching remotely. It is overwhelming to the eyes and to the senses to be hit with like this barrage of text and colors and all of these things that are drawing your eyes into a bunch of different places. And for the neurotypical brain, it is taxing to, if you have executive functioning disorder, like I have attention deficit disorder, and I physically get exhausted. Like if I'm looking at the two examples here, right? Like the one on the right, the beauty example, that makes me physically tired to look at. I mean, I promise you that whatever teacher I just got this. I didn't take this from a specific teacher. I got this like I did a good Google like image search and grabbed a random one because I think it's the coolest thing in the world. I think his teacher probably put in an enormous amount of time and care and did this not out of vanity or narcissism, but because they really wanted to create this classroom like experience for their kids. Like all the intentions are right. But the reality is having taught online and having, being a parent of students, of kids who are experiencing online, and having, of course, taken online classes myself and gone to stuff, it hurts. Like it hurts to look at this kind of thing. It's so cool looking, but I mean, if I had thought of this in the summer, I would have done this. I promise you, I would have done this. And I would have started the year off with this, and then I would have abandoned it probably after a week. And again, everyone I know who has done something really awesome like this has already ditched it or kind of uses it just as like a template. It's like it doesn't change from that. It's like it's basically just like a whiteboard image is all it is. But our kids aren't looking to us right now as remote teachers to dazzle them with your ability to graphic design or to do anything of the sort. It's already exhausting enough just staring at a screen all day. Even for kids who are used to, spending a lot of time on screen. I'm used to spending a lot of time on screen. It's a lot. Clarity over beauty. So these are the two examples I gave: a huge, messy Bitmoji classroom and simply writing complete the assignment on Google Classroom. One looks so much cooler and so much more thoughtful. And again, if I had no children, all the time like in a year off of just life, I would probably come up with something cool like that. It's not my life, but I don't think it's most of yours, or should it be? Simple, simple clarity over beauty. That's what matters. Because again, it's us trying to sustain ourselves. It's not sustainable to make stuff like that every day. I've known people who have made stuff like that for the 5, 6 preps that they have, and like try to make one every single day with a new pair deck and a new Bitmoji classroom with links to other stuff and like video tutorials of how to do this other stuff. And they are already texting me and asking a video chat with me because they are burnt and they want to know how to recover. So clarity, simplicity, it'll make your life better and your kids will appreciate it. Good. The whoops. Okay, good. I'm making sure that this is the final one that I really wanted to harp on. Don't get fired. I repeat, please, any advice that I give you about anything in any of my presentations, I try to preface it with don't get fired. Now, in our particular circumstances, we are being again asked to risk our lives and the lives of our loved ones in a lot of instances. We are being asked to do 7 jobs all at once. We are being asked to figure out technology that we've never used, find a way to teach kids virtually with, in most instances, no training, no preparation, not a lot of the resources we need. Again, I have been super lucky, but I don't matter. This is all of us in this. And I've seen the list of demands that people are trying to meet on a daily basis. So I've created another little worksheet, little kind of daily planner that I use that I think will also be helpful for you. The Don't Get Fired Planner. And it's in 2 categories here. There's 2 questions. It's what do I need to do to avoid getting fired? And the other one, what can I do or stop doing that will make life easier and not get me fired? Now, I know we're under a lot of different pressures, right? Okay, we got to get really real right now. If we're going to make it through this year, we got to get super real. People are being asked to do things that are, I think, impossible to do over the course of a day, like literally impossible to do. So I think it is worthwhile to set aside a little bit of time, one time, and take a look at the things that you absolutely have to do. I'm talking about specifically administrative tasks. Like, what do you really have to do, right? Like, if you're in a district that requires you to submit lesson plans, some districts require that, and they have someone whose whole job it is just to look at them and then like read them in detail and critique you. And like, I know people get emails at like midnight saying, I didn't notice that your learning objectives matched your whatever have you. Like, I've heard stories of that as well. So if you're in that situation, um, you have to do those lesson plans, or else you will find yourself potentially in a difficult situation job wise. That's in the I need to do that to avoid getting fired or drawing the attention of the people who are making these demands. Now, there may be other things that you really don't have to do, like things that, decisions you can make that can make your life better and better for the life of your kids. So, for example, in that category, what can I stop doing that'll make life easier? Okay, so say, for example, again, I'll go back to grading and assessing, right? So, what do I actually have to grade? And what do I have to assess? And by that, I mean, will I get in trouble if I don't grade or assess in a certain way? If the answer is I will not get in trouble if I make executive decisions about how I want to grade and assess, then I am going to make the decisions that I think are going to make myself as a remote teacher and the kids' lives better. Meaning that I'm going to grade far, far, far less. I'm going to assess far, far, far less. I am going to assign homework, which is the strangest thing when you're a virtual teacher. It's like, isn't your life homework when you're teaching kids who are remote? Like, school is just homework with like me staring at you, kind of. Like, so I just don't do that. I I don't. But I'm in a district where I'm allowed, where that's to an extent encouraged. But we're not all there. But I'm using that as an example because that's something that I can do that makes everyone's life better, that puts me in no trouble. So I strongly recommend just setting aside some time and making these lists. Like, what do I absolutely need to do to keep my job to get through this right now? And what can I do or stop doing that will make life easier and not risk my job? Again, best practices we can revisit later. Right now, we are trying to get through to the other side of this. Hopefully healthy. It is, I mean, that's where we're at. I mean, just the emotional toll of the summer that I think that it's had on a lot of people. Like, I don't like I've spent all my time talking to teachers, and I see people on the brink. I see people who I didn't think were breakable, just broken. And that's very much why I wanted to do this presentation and why I shaped it the way that I did, because this is not the time, in my estimation, to be figuring out how to become the best, best you can be as a teacher. This is a time to figure out how we can get through this as safely and as, yeah, basically with as much of us as intact as possible. Now, I do want to throw out at the very end here, because I don't want it to be all doom and gloom and just like, and just survival stuff. I'll tell you a couple of things that can make your life good, and I'll just throw them out there as things you can do tomorrow. Okay, number one, If you have access to a microphone of any kind, even headphones that have a decent microphone on them, anything you can get your hands on that has any sort of microphone that's not your computer microphone, use it. Use it. If you need to buy it, buy it. Look on Amazon Warehouse, look on any of those places where you can get this stuff cheap. Ask somebody, be like, hey, do you have any like extra headphones or extra microphone you don't use? Could you mail it to me or whatever have you? Whatever you need to do, whatever you need to do to get one, get a microphone of some kind. It makes everyone's life so much easier. You're a better teacher when people can understand what you're saying. And when it comes to even video, sound is the difference maker. Sound is the difference maker. If there's nothing going on visually, if the sound quality is good, your kids will be way more engaged. It'll take way less energy for them to listen to you. Other thing is make sure there is a light on your face at all times. Turn on a lamp, put it on your face. Any sort of diffused light you can. Get an LED lamp for $5 online. It doesn't have to be a fancy like studio light. Get it, shine it on your face. Tech wise, that's really all you really need is you just need a little bit of light on your face and the ability for people to see your voice, hear your voice. The other thing that I'll throw out there is something that's also very important is keep your face on the screen as much as you possibly can, even though I'm not really doing that right now. Your face is what makes the difference right now. It's you. You are a teacher. You aren't a graphic designer who gives presentations about the cool stuff you graphically designed. You are the teacher. Their relationship is with you. Your relationship is with them. See them as much as you can. If their cameras aren't on, they're still looking, they're still listening. It's about that. Say everybody's name as they come into the classroom. Say hello to everybody individually as they come in. Like, oh, Lindsay. Oh, hey, Lindsay. Sharon. Yay, Sharon's here. Mary. Mary, there's Joy. Joy, killing it. Killing it. There's Amy. She knew her name was coming. Yeah, just go down and just name everybody. Say everybody's name. Say hi to them one-on-one individually. These are the things that we can do. They don't take any effort. They don't take any energy. They take no planning. They take no prep. These are the things that we can do when we're teaching remotely. The rest, again, with the demands that are being placed on us, it's about surviving for the long haul. When we get that down, maybe we can move a little bit ahead. But I'm trying to look out for you all right now and give you permission to do what you got to do. I hope that makes sense and I hope that's helpful. But I would love to, I know I've been talking a lot right now. I would love to, we could go to the chat. I'd love to answer any questions people have. So I know there's probably got to be some kicking around.
So I could start us off with a question, John, actually, because you
Sure.
mentioned something early on and then you didn't actually do it. And so I want to know what it is. So you said, right in the automating slide that we should try to change our assessment to things that could be automated. And if we're assessing in ways that can't be automated, we should change what we're assessing. And then you said you would talk about what that was. And I'm curious what that looks like, because I feel like other people might have thought that too. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Awesome. Can you see my screen right now?
yes.
Fantastic. Okay. I'll give you a good example. Now let's see. What ones did I give you here? Yes. Okay, perfect. Here we go. I'm going to, oh, something weird popped up in my search bar here. I'm going to click on GimKit. Yay, GimKit. GimKit's fun. We all love GimKit. I'm going to hop over to GimKit. Aha. Okay, awesome. So GimKit, perfect example, right? Now, normally I do not assess vocabulary independently. I don't really do anything with independent vocabulary in that sense. I don't really work with vocabulary lists. However, I am not going to write a story for like every single class right now because I just do not have any of that left in me. After the summer and all that, I don't think I mean, a lot of us have started the year burnt out, as I've heard from some people so far, myself included. That ain't happening right now. So I've changed my mind on that for now to make life easier. So, what's the perfect example? Right. So here's a story we're reading by Lance Piantagini, right? It's a great book, and normally I would come up with more open-ended kind of things, like things like the dictations, free writing, um, writing summaries, doing unannounced assessments like translation quizzes, true or false, things of that sort, right? I'm not doing the stuff that I think would be the best thing to do. Instead, what I'm doing is I'm doing things like GimKit with individual words because it is individual words and it grades automatically. So that's an example of me chucking something that I normally like to do in the name of something that's automatic and easier, if that makes sense.
You have a question in the chat.
Oh,
Um,
love it.
May I ask how you use Tiberius Gallicina and other novels in your day? Does each kid have a copy? What's the procedure?
Booyaka. All right. How do I work with these things? So, what I do is for all the ones that have not been made available for free, and if you kick around on Facebook or in those places like that, you'll find which ones have been made available for free. If they've been made available for free for the time being, I have a PDF on Google Classroom that they all can go to and look at. For Tiberius and Gallicena, um, that one I bought the rights on Story Labs. I bought a number of people are selling the rights to their book, the digital rights, for as like basically digital classroom sets. And so that's how they've been getting access to the books is through that. And so they all are able to access them online. And so yeah, so they all have their own copy. And what I'll do with them in class is, I mean, what we'll do is similar to what I would do in a normal class. Like we'll read the story, like we'll read a paragraph together. I'll ask them questions in Latin about it. We'll answer questions about vocabulary, what's going on, and we'll kind of work our way through there. I'll give them to demonstrate comprehension. I'll direct them to the choice board and give them some time to complete one of the activities in there. And then after that, because some of them are more creative, like some of them are artistic, some of them are things like two truths and a lie. What I'll do is I'll have kids, volunteer to share stuff, and then that gives us a way to look at the same material again. And so they can do it by sharing their screen, or because they've submitted it to me into that Google form, I can just go in there and get it myself. So I don't have to give them permission to do anything. I can just share it myself. And so then we'll do that. We'll talk about it and go over it. Um, Independent reading time, Gim kits with the vocabulary from it to get them ready. And that's pretty much what I do. I break it down into pre-reading, reading, and post-reading. So things to get them ready to understand, then going through it together to make sure everyone understands, and then post-reading, any sort of follow-up activity that gives them a chance to demonstrate comprehension, which are really just thinly veiled um, ploys that lead to them reading the same story again without realizing it. The actual activities they do themselves don't really do anything. I mean, they're cute and I like them, but they don't do anything. The actual value of them is that it makes them stare at the story again. And that's where all the pay dirt is. But it works for me because they don't realize that's what's happening. But yeah, that's kind of what I do. I'd be happy to go into greater detail, but yeah, feel free to message me or anything of the sort. And yeah, I'll walk you through the whole deal.
So another question in the chat. When you were talking about the cakes, the no judgment shame cake, any suggestions for handling external expectations for lessons and assessments, parents, board of ed, admin, etc.?
Ah, so the big thing about that, right? I will direct us once again to the don't get fired slide. So this is going to be tricky in every district, in every setting, because a lot of people have a lot of different motivations. There are different politics and there are different factors to consider, whether you're in a right to work state, whether you're in a public or private school. Um, it's going to be difficult to navigate. when it comes to external expectations, again, a lot of them are, I mean, they're driving the narrative right now, or external expectations from people who aren't us, and a lot of them are unreasonable. So the advice that I would give is I would do everything in my power to find out exactly what it is that these people want from you. Like, what is their actual aim? And this might even be just an email to admin, like, hey, and of course, you talk admin, speak to admin. It's like, hey, you've been giving me some wonderful feedback and giving me some great guidelines about how to do blah blah blah, on how to submit lesson plans. I was wondering if you could if you could send me an example of what you think would be like the ideal lesson plan, or what would be like a or something like that. Or if you have a curriculum director, be like, yeah, I'm looking to create better virtual assessments. I'm not quite sure how to do that. Like, do you have one that you've done that you could share with me? Like, all of these things to find out specifically what it is that they want from you. That's usually tied to an expectation that someone has put on them. When you know what specifically those things are, and also you've built up that you've built up that kind of positive equity by treating them like experts, even if they're not, treating them like experts and seeking their advice and wisdom, you may have bought yourself more leeway in some of these things where you're not going to be the first one on the radar to come after if things aren't perfect. So I strongly advise reaching out to the people who are the who are the ones who are making life difficult, and ask them for their wisdom to make things better. Also, do any kind of survey of your kids you possibly can. Like, hey, what's going great so far? What's this? What's working so far? Informal, formal, whatever have you, whatever it is, keep your finger on the pulse, because the not knowing and trying to guess what people expect from you will drive you crazy, because it drives me insane. Like, oh no, this person wants this person wants that, and like it makes our head spin. I would ask every clarifying question possible, because once you find out what that is, then you can start looking at that other category of what can I stop doing, or what can I focus less on, that'll get me off their radar. So I hope that helps. It's not an easy situation.
Are there any more questions that anyone wants to pose either in the chat or by speaking aloud? We've got like a couple more minutes before we hit the hour mark. So if you want to squeeze any more in, you're welcome to do so.
I just want to add that I found myself nodding a ton in the last hour. I could see in the chat, I think so much is resonating top to bottom throughout all this. So I also will say I could listen to John for a second hour and just continue nodding, but my head hurts from nodding so much. So, I got to take care of myself.
Thank you, Ben. I want to give a shout out to Benjamin right there. Yeah. Know that guy. Get to know that guy. Go see this guy next time. Go see this guy next week. Life's better for knowing this guy. Life's better. He's a good man. No, I appreciate that. I'm trying to, yeah, I know we're all in a situation right here, and I'm trying to give people permission to let go of some of this stuff, because the expectations that other people have of us are not realistic, and oftentimes they're just cold and callous. They're just like, I expect you to just go into the classroom, maybe die or kill a member of your family after contracting a virus, because it looks better if you do that. For me, I'm not going to do that, but somehow looks better for me that you do that. Like, that's where we're at right now, right? So we cannot be looking at those expectations like that has anything to do with who we are or what we do, because they don't. This is the time for us to be good to each other, care about each other, and do what we need to do to survive this. Yeah, that's where we're at. I appreciate that, Ben.
Can I ask one question? If you're already
Hey, Pearl.
on your admin's, crap list, which I currently am, because I didn't have the don't get fired box, which apparently I really need. What would you do if you're already about to be put in the adult version of, the penalty box.
Oh, April. First of all, I love April. It's good to see you, April. Yeah, so I spent the first like 8 years of my career in on the wrong side of admin, and yeah, it's not a good place to be. I wish I had come to this presentation like a few years ago. So I know what that's like. The best move that I would suggest is actually I learned this one from my wife, who's much wiser than I am. She said, "What you do is you nod, smile, and agree to absolutely everything. Do pretty much none of it, but agree to virtually all of it." Because what they want in these situations is they want you to validate them. So when they make a so if they make a suggestion that's just kind of crazy, like, "Oh, April, I think you should be spending at least 30 hours a day, if that's humanly possible, um, just submitting and resubmitting lesson plans for classes you may or may not teach in some format somewhere in the future, just for the sake of it." And then you say, "Wow, that's a really great idea," because you never know what's going to happen. "Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. Is there like, do you have any templates or anything that I could use? Because I think that's a great idea." And then write them an email 3 days later and say, "Oh, hey, yeah. I just want to check in because I've been looking through the stuff that you sent me, and I noticed this, and that, and yeah, it's really helpful. I appreciate it." That's really what they want is that it's not in my nature. You know me at this point. I'm not good at that, but I mean, ultimately, like right now, it's extra crazy. In general, I say my usual advice is, if at all possible, start seeking another job, because I've never seen admin suddenly start easing up on people or be like, "Ah, maybe we're too hard on April." Uh, yeah, no, I've seen toxic situations just tend to get more toxic. But right now, everything's toxic. So I would just like, I would do everything I have power to just reach out and try to say yes to as many things as you possibly can. Agree, validate everything that you possibly can. Do so aggressively. Reach out to do so. Thank them for everything. That'll get you out of actually having to do it. That's the thing. It's only when they're mad at you do they care that you did it. Like half the stuff that I got in trouble for, like it wasn't even stuff that was like other people were doing it. Like other people do the exact same thing. Like I stopped giving homework. People would stay in apartment meetings for like months. "Oh yeah, I stopped giving homework. Yeah, I decided it wasn't worthwhile." I'm like, "Oh, good idea, good idea." Then I'm like in like a meeting with like administration, like the superintendent being like, "We heard you decide on your own not to give homework. What's up with that? We're gonna have to now like monitor your grade book to make sure you're giving homework every day. And we have to like secretly interview kids to make sure that you're giving homework." But right across the room, person not giving any homework, and like has a sign that says, "I don't give homework," on like their door. It's the rules only apply to you when they're mad at you. So get off that, and you won't have to do all that stuff. That's my advice.
All right. I think we've exhausted our time here. I want to say thank you to all of you guys for coming. I know, right now, one more video session, one more thing on the calendar is sometimes one thing too many. So I appreciate that you all came out tonight. And thank you to John for taking the time to put together this presentation, especially for us. He sort of volunteered to help with this project, and I really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Thank you all for coming out. I really do appreciate it. Now I'm here for you. Just reach out to me if you just want to vent. I'm here.